Hello, this is Tim, and I know this is a sad period with the death of His Royal Highness the Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. Um, I think today is particularly sad. I've just seen an article from Nigel Farage, and I've just read some Twitter remarks which make me so immensely sad. And I thought carefully before recording this, and because I don't want to sort of stir up more problem than is already there. But I think there are some general principles at stake here. So, to give you an idea of what's going on, Prince Philip died on Friday. I understand the Queen was at his bedside. This is a very tender and very sad story. And the royal family have rallied round Her Majesty, and this is a grandfather, a great grandfather, a father who has died, and a man who has lived his life in the public arena. And there will be a funeral in a week's time with 30 people present, and to make sure that as many of his family can attend as possible, the Prime Minister has bowed out of this, which is quite right, and a noble gesture. And I'm sure, Her Majesty will be in deep mourning for Prince Philip. What we want to hear at the moment are positive messages. Now is the time to be positive and to think of good things to say. In a way, there's the old adage, if you've not got anything good to say, don't say anything at all. And yet, we've got an article today criticising Prince Harry for posting a one-sentence tribute to his grandfather, talking about his years of service. Now, I know from the talks that I've listened to of Mr. Farage that Nigel Farage is not a man given to brevity. But brevity is a good thing. And so, first of all, he criticises the one-word tribute. And then he goes on and says that Prince Harry would not be welcome back in the UK, even for his grandfather's funeral. This is utterly, utterly shameful and headline hunting. I actually cannot think of a more scathing attack that is so mistimed, that has appeared in the press. The press are wrong to print it. Mr. Farage is wrong to write it and to say it. This is this is indeed the contempt that lies at the heart of this story. It's I think it's right for Prince Harry and Prince William to stand shoulder to shoulder and walk behind the coffin of their grandfather. I think it's absolutely right, and there's an opportunity to forge new bonds and to repair some of what we're told as the deep damage in between the brothers and in the family. But in a way, that's not our business. And it's certainly not Mr. Farage's business to say who is and who is not welcome in this country in these circumstances. Now, there's a much wider and a much broader issue at stake, and that's about the internet and about the ease with which people can get across their rather nasty comments. I've been watching a television show called The Circle, and it's produced a barrage of really horrible comments about particular people in the cast. The cast is superb, without exception, and nobody should have to suffer such abuse simply because they are entertaining us. Nobody should be suffering that. And we have to think, how can we change the law globally so that we can discourage people from posting pernicious things on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook? How can we restrain people? At the same time, how can we encourage people to be nicer? We have to think of this in both ways. Yes, we should be encouraging everybody to think more carefully before they press. Is this something that you want to be preserved? Is this is this actually expressed as you wish it to be expressed? Is it grammatically correct? Are you saying what you mean, and is what you mean the right thing to say? But also, how do we hold somebody to account when they are publishing under somebody else's name, when they are trolling, when they have cloned somebody else's account, when they are simply stealing identity? If you steal somebody's valuables, then you have committed theft, and there is a price to pay. If you steal somebody's name on the internet, then there doesn't seem to be a great price to pay, and that probably needs to change. But at the same time, we have to find a way to properly police without censoring this extraordinary organ of communication. I think there's so much that is good about social media and about that provides accessibility, and we've seen that in the last year during the pandemic. We've seen all the blossoming of Zoom and live conversations on Instagram, which can only be positive, which can only be good. But at the same time, I personally have had experience of being cloned and having really quite nasty things said and so on. I do have some experience of the darker side of social media, and it takes some resilience to soldier on when this sort of thing is happening. But so often it's directed against people who are very young, perhaps very inexperienced, and I don't think anybody really of any age should have to experience this sort of anonymous bile. And as a society, I think we need to do something to stop it, to call it out, and to ensure this doesn't define our age. There was a time, if you go back, there was a time when written communication was so complex and so expensive that every word was carefully thought out. And gradually we had printing, and we had mass communication, and now perhaps our words are not so carefully thought out. But the people who are at the forefront of our political debate, I think, still have a responsibility to think carefully before they speak. I remember calling out a colleague of Mr. Farage years ago who made what I thought, and what I still think, was a racist joke. Now, Mr. Farage turned round and says, well, it was just a joke. And I think he misunderstood what the issue was. Yes, it was just a joke, but it doesn't stop something being racist and offensive simply because the person who says something said it casually. A casual comment is as offensive as a calculated comment, because you can't see the intention in the words as they are written or printed or relayed. In this case, it was done on the radio. And though I have huge sympathy for people who make gaffes, for people who put their foot in their mouth, for people who want to put others at their ease and sort of crack a joke or giggle. I have huge sympathy for this. And indeed, we cannot ignore the fact that the Duke of Edinburgh was the master of the wry comment that clearly was designed to put people at their ease in what is otherwise a very stressful and strange experience, to be in that lineup before you meet a member of the royal family. You're given instructions about bowing and or curtsying and not talking first and so on. And all these things are going around your mind, and you're just thinking of protocol. And I think the Duke of Edinburgh understood this, and understood this very well. But we need to make a distinction between kindness and headline grabbing, and I think Mr. Farage is on the wrong side of this debate at the moment. Now here we've got a man. Let's think about it very carefully. This is a man who stood twice for a Westminster seat and failed both times, but nevertheless has defined our political agenda and political debate probably for the next decade. So, for 20 odd years, we are following a path that was pretty well defined by Nigel Farage. Now, I think that is a major achievement, but it's also a major responsibility. And I am sure, no matter what is said to the contrary, that Mr. Farage has been politely invited to take a seat in the House of Lords, and I think it's probably the best place for him. Instead, he seems to think that his route is his minor chat shows and the internet, and probably media, a news media outlet. I think he's wrong. I think he's deeply wrong. His job now, because of the way he's set the political agenda, his job now is to take responsibility for how that plays out. Therefore, he should be in Parliament to answer questions, to give advice, and to play the part of an elder statesman, and to be guided, because clearly he is in need of guidance and secretarial support and so on. I would love to give him some serious advice, but now is not the time. Now is the time, I think, to call on everybody to make the effort to be kinder, and to make the effort to be kinder in the use of this internet media. So on YouTube, to be kinder, on Instagram, on Twitter, God knows what other strange media outlets there are. I'm sure there are some others. TikTok, I think. I don't really know what TikTok is, but I'm sure somebody can tell me. And I don't really know how to access TikTok. But, you know, all of these things, energy and kindness, and think twice before you post.